Mike and I have the on the phone when we talk to each other. It's literally like we're in bed together.
Yes,
because we both have that the bedroom voice on the phone where we
Pillow
just
talk.
sound like we're just barely.
Well, I bounce back. A lot of times we would talk early in the morning because late night. No, it'd be like late night clutch writing.
Oh, right,
and
right.
We'd bang out a version.
Clutch
send it
Cargo,
to you.
he's referring to,
yes,
which is a cartoon from the 50s, which we adapted to the television show in 1993 called Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
That's actually. There's so much we could talk to you about, but to me,
really is.
I think the first 2 years of Conan,
Yeah.
when you were there,
Right.
You were there for all of it.
I was there for every second of it.
Yes.
I lived in the building.
But to me,
I was a newlywed.
it's one of the most interesting parts of the show, especially 25 years on.
Sure.
To see how it all started and
Yeah.
to see the early creation process.
fomentation.
Exactly.
Yes. All
'Cause
right,
you were-
let's
we should-
take a
The
look.
foaming, churning seas.
You were the first head writer of the show. But
I got a producer title too
Oh,
because
yeah.
I was a high roller back then.
Exactly. You
know.
did it
That's
all.
smart. That's when agents did things.
Yes, I left Saturday Night Live in 1993, and Lauren didn't want me to be the head writer.
Right.
You know that.
why?
I've heard that, but
Well, Lauren, I didn't take it personally. He likes to hold on to people who, like, if Conan hadn't left The Simpsons,
Right.
I don't know if Conan ever would. If Conan hadn't left Saturday Night Live,
Yeah.
to do The Simpsons,
right.
From the second he left, Lauren wanted to figure out a way to get him back.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and so Lauren hired him finally to produce a late night show.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, and I'd talk on the phone to Conan and I'd be so excited about the idea of doing it and try to weasel my way in, and
Right.
pitch ideas. And he like interviewed people, like, you know, he was there for the picking the host process. And, you know, some-
Conan. Wait, or Laura.
Conan.
Yeah. So
well, Conan and Lauren would like go out to dinner with Drew Carey
Yeah.
and Jon Stewart. And
That is
Oh,
so
you know,
funny.
I did not know Conan was part of that early
absolutely.
interviewing.
So yeah, no, he would, and I was like on the phone with him these guys are funny. I know. I just kind of like, he would privately tell me, I kind of feel like, you know, I could do this too. And,
Yeah.
and I would laugh.
Did you
for
think?
hours.
No, really.
You.
Did you think that was? I mean, did you think he was delusional?
I didn't think he was delusional because I knew that he was like the guy in the writer's room who could make everybody laugh. Yeah, he was just the funniest guy in the room. And I loved working with him. I wrote a lot of stuff with him when I was
Right.
at SNL because we were both, like, I would bond with different writers for different reasons. Like Dana Carvey, I loved writing like goofy impressions and character, like musical kind of language, like, you know, does that make any sense
Yes.
at all? Like, I like
Yeah.
the music of character writing, like, you
Right.
know, like John McLaughlin sketches. And
Right.
Like, wrong, no, you think, we would just do impressions back and forth.
Right. Because you're a great impressionist too.
I
take the
an
compliment.
impressionist. I used to call myself when I did the Clutch card.
But that's you would amplify,
Yes.
make them more cartoonish
Yes.
in a great way.
yes, no, and it was perfect
As
for
opposed to-
Conan's sensibility with mine.
Right.
That's the thing. That's what we loved. Conan and I would hang out at SNL, and we had that cartoony sensibility that we shared, and we would enjoy reducing other people to their, you know, to their most base,
nub.
to the nub. Like Al Franken, I used to pretend he was because he was like kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
So I used to say that I used to imagine him as like a snapping turtle. So yeah, so we flash forward to Conan leaving The Simpsons, coming to get hired by Lauren for this show. And yeah, I could tell that he didn't have a huge passion for the job that was being
producing
presented
part.
to him. No,
Yeah.
that was
Behind the
literally,
scenes.
and it was like, and I think he agreed that these guys were funny, but
Right.
there was just a part of him was like, I kind of feel like I could do it. And he didn't manipulate. He wasn't like Dick Cheney in that way at all.
Right.
He quit the job.
Right.
He told Lauren, I just have to be honest with you. I feel like the closer I get to doing this, the more I kind of feel like it reminds me why I left The Simpsons. I want to be on camera. I want to perform.
And he was sick of all the dinners. So wow. So he actually said, "I'm not going to." But
Walked
Yeah,
away.
he actually exited. He stepped away from the job.
and did he make a counter proposal then, or he just?
Well, he said, you know, I would love. He hinted that he would, you know, feel like he he could do the job. But he didn't campaign in any way, and he was as honest as he could be about it. He wasn't being manipulative. And then Lorne decided, he thought about it, and he realized that he was definitely worth giving an audition to. And he knew that Conan would work his ass off in terms of, you know, making the show good. And then Conan called me and said, Lorne is he's thinking about giving me a chance to do this. And I was really shocked.
Really?
Yeah. And a bit scared for him.
Yeah.
Because as funny as I thought he was, I knew that he'd never been on television.
The stakes were high, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just, you know, famously not diplomatic sometimes. And I didn't discourage him, but I said, I was like, wow, that's...
Did your voice
that
get
is
really high?
No, it got
That's
bedroomy.
great.
Bedroomy.
No, I didn't do that until I started working for Conan. No, we'll stay till 3 because we have to listen to another hour of this riffing. It's great riffing.
I started working there. I was like, everyone's lying here because they're all speaking in this high voice. But
well, there's another high voice that writers get. There are certain writers who, when they're starting, or when they're pitching something. John Vitti was one of my favorites at this. He would pitch an idea, and the further he got into it without getting a laugh, the higher his voice.
Oh, no.
Conan had never been on television, and we were getting terrible reviews.
Yeah.
And the walls were closing in on us.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stress coming from not just the network, but from even people within the show who didn't like how much...
Well...
They're just resistant because it was
to all
new
the
and
production.
yeah.
That's I can see.
It was
that.
incredibly stressful, but it was still the best job I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah,
That's great.
Absolutely, because there's nothing more exciting than like being in on the creation of a new format. Because he knew that how much I wanted to do it, and he said, "You have a lot of ideas already that I think that we could do here. I would just be a straight man instead of doing the characters,
right?
You know, and I think I'd be a really good straight man," which immediately clicked with me that he would, because he's not only funny being silly, but he completely understands
the role,
that role.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As a great, amazing writer he is.
Right.
And so, but even before then, I had like realized in my head, like, oh, Jesus, what the fuck did I just say on the phone? Like I had done something. I remembered I had done a sketch on Saturday Night Live. Like Lorne let me do a weekend update piece, like in my last year as a writer. Conan was already at The Simpsons. And it wasn't very good, but I tried. But I got to do it twice, so I guess it wasn't the worst thing ever. But Conan was like at The Simpsons in California, and he spent hours with me, like giving me, you know, advice on the bit. Like it was just, you know, the menchiest.
Right.
That's a Jewish term. Just, you know, that's what a friend. So I was like, I'm not even going to think about this. Of course, I'm going to do this for him. Even if I wasn't sure it was going to work, I'm like definitely going to do this for him, and I'm psyched. And so, but then he did the audition, and he was amazing. You know, he was really loose.
Yep.
And not only did I think he was going to be an overnight sensation practically, but so did all the writers who we hired that summer.
I remember Michael Gordon, who was at the beginning, always said, he's like, exactly saying what you're saying. We all thought, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're seeing the dawn of,
This is going to be amazing.
You know, we saw the guy who everybody sees in remotes now. It's just like endlessly, impossibly funny guy. And we saw that just hanging around the office and in that audition. And then, of course, the show happened, and he wasn't quite the same because it was like actual television.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember alluding to like, you know, is there something we're not doing right? Because in the audition, you just were like, and he said to me, I had nothing to lose in the audition.
Right.
Don't you realize? And I, you know, one of the many times I felt stupid that year.
Well, no, I mean, learning how to perform, I think, on television is a whole different skill set.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like he got to work it out in a small TV station.
You know what? Lorne wanted him to go to clubs that summer.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering
he
that.
Did. He wanted him to do stand-up that summer. And I was like, one of the many times I went rogue. I was just like, no, don't do that. Because what happens if you do it and you don't do great, and then it'll be leaked in the press, and we don't want to have people saying you're bad if you don't do great. Like I always think of the worst scenario.
Right. So you wanted to kind of keep them under wraps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just,
And you have to
protect
give the
him because like
MC your
stand up is another thing he'd never done.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
It's like if we can just invite the press to watch him hang out in the office, I'd be all for that.
I had mentioned on this show before, because I was with the comics the night he was announced.
Yeah.
Like at a Catch Rising Star, and they were all outraged.
Oh, of course.
It was like someone,
Well, I
Like,
mean,
whose
first of
son
all,
is this?
wait a minute,
Yeah.
this is, and they all sounded like lawyers who
comedians
were skipped over for partner.
It was like the happiest day in their life because they could all be openly outraged together instead of secretly outraged.
Yeah.
If one of their friends got the part.
It really brought
hey,
them all,
man,
it brought
great.
them all together.
Exactly. Against a common enemy.
Prop comic, guitar comic.
No, can you imagine if Conan had
Cerebral
gone
comic
into a
alike.
stand-up club with all these jealous people watching him? Yeah.
Well, no, it was a very giving group as well.
No, I like the part where you took the silver spoon out of your mouth, Harvard boy.
Oh my God.
No, it would have been, I don't know.
A bloodbath.
Look, it was, that first year and a half was a minefield, but, I wouldn't change anything because,
But then it's
look where you are now, podcasting.
But it is that tough thing of the show starting and kind of like you were saying, hey, what about that audition? Where's that audition guy?
Where's that guy?
But then it's like, how much do you talk about it? Because the more you talk about it,
anytime you're dealing with
it
a
makes it the
performer,
word,
it's a
of
whole
course.
other thing. I mean,
the second you give notes on anything, you see their
wheels turning. This goes back to
turning.
when I would give notes between dress and air to an actor on Saturday Night
Right.
Live. Some of them would take it fine, and some of them I felt like I had
unravel.
taken
Yeah.
their child or something.
Yep.
I just ultimately a lot of times, the final product is what we'll all be happy if the final product is great.
Right. We just have to get there.
We just have to get there somehow. So
Right.
a lot of times I was willing to take the hit personally because
right.
And so initially was Conan reading some of the negative reviews?
I wouldn't talk about it with him, but if he brought it up, I would talk about it. He was aware.
Because that was probably, I could see really spiraling once you...
Yeah, and I'm sure
started
Lorne
reading.
Michaels let him know about it.
And there's
Because-
always someone on the crew who's like, hey, check this headline out.
Was the writing staff at this point, was everyone able to kind of stay optimistic and motivated, or was it like, oh no, this is...
Yes, no, there were people...
The ship's going down.
People loved what we were focused on. We were having so much fun writing bits. I mean, the show was a playground, and it was like a world where I could finally do the most childish stuff
Right.
that I would do in my office.
Right.
When I was at Saturday Night Live, I would do a lot of abstract impressions of people.
Right.
Like Lorne Michaels, just the word show, just be done in a million different iterations. And
now there was no one to keep you from
yes,
putting it
I mean, at
directly on
SNL,
TV.
I always tried to write what I thought SNL wanted.
Right.
I had so much reverence for the show. And I actually learned from Conan and Odenkirk when they came in a couple of years later, because neither of them had the same reverence I did. And they were much freer with what they wanted to write. And it kind of freed me up a little bit, and that was sort of kind of led me on my way to getting closer to the pure shit.
Nirvana.
Yeah. But going back to, 1993? Yeah. So we started up and like I said, he was super nervous, and it was kind of appealing the first show because it was kind of cute, like this guy who's got a new television show, and it was giddy.
Had a great cold open.
Had a great cold open, of course. No, we had a lot of our favorite bits that we were dying to do were in the first couple of weeks and a couple of shows, even.
Right.
But yeah, he had this giddiness to him, that made the nervousness seem okay, and then the giddiness went away. The nervousness remained. And he was still great in a lot of ways. And, but it was that thing where people notice mistakes. They just love them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so much of television, especially this is before peak TV, where everything was magnificent, so much great TV. Back then there was like 5% of television was amazing. And then 90% of television was just kind of warmed
Filler.
over, acceptable
Right,
filler.
right,
And then
right.
at the bottom, there's 5% of shit. And then like below that is Sally Jesse Raphael, or, you know. But when Conan and Andy would have an awkward moment, that would be in that 5%. It would be like train wreck time.
Right.
It just would. Or if a sketch went badly, because we tried everything.
Right.
And, you know, I'm very proud of all the material we generated, you know, people like Louis and Dino and Marsh and Gordon and Dave Reynolds, they're all there. And, you know, we generated a lot of stuff that stayed on the show for years, and they were on in the first weeks of the show.
Yeah.
But we also had train wreck stuff, because I called it the flailing period, where we would just try anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Dino did a sketch
Throwing
called
things against the wall.
Skull Juice. Do you remember that?
I remember watching
No, it's
that.
really funny. You loved it, but it was very alienating to people who were watching nervous jangly guy introduce.
But now when you say alienating, how would you find out who would tell you, hey, we don't like Skull Juice? Would it be executives?
Or was it the live audience? I mean, how?
Right.
Critics. The New York Times shat on Skull Juice. So everybody gave Conan a decent
At
review.
least it got written about.
That's right.
No, this was really interesting. So Conan got some decent reviews after the first show, because, and one of the reasons that we benefited was because Chevy Chase had just done a
Yes.
show. Literally 2 weeks
Yes.
earlier, Chevy Chase had debuted a show on the Fox
Right.
network.
He was
At
taking
11
all,
o'clock.
He was taking all the fire, the negative.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
he got so shit on. They were
Yeah.
primed to destroy him.
Yes.
And the show was not good. I think he would agree.
I remember that show.
Yeah.
Very well.
And so Conan was suddenly, instead of having to be compared to Letterman, he was being compared to Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And it gave critics one more shot at,
Right.
at shitting on Chevy Chase. Tom Shales is like, okay,
Right.
thank you, Conan. I get there are a couple of things I left out of my Chevy review
Yeah.
that I can evoke here. But then a couple of weeks later, the bastards had the nerve to revisit the show. And then we were getting horrible reviews, just universally awful reviews. And I remember even talking to one of the critics on the phone. I don't remember why. I think he had interviewed me before the show, Eric Mink of the Daily News. And I was like, come on, man. We're getting a lot of stuff on the show that's killing, and people are laughing, and they're even starting to applaud when they see it again. And he's like, oh, talk shows they just prime their audiences. They hype them up.
I always love, like, sometimes I'll read about people going, oh, those aren't real laughs on
Yeah,
there. It's
they're
like,
amped up.
Of course, it's just an audience.
Although I have to say, there are talk shows now that I won't mention them.
all right.
But there are some that say laugh really, like the warm-up guy literally tells the audience
Right.
to laugh. You
Right.
know, this depends on you.
Oh, you had to deal with Matt. Were you involved in like hiring?
Deal with
Well, no, but hiring.
deal with. Let the record show. Hey,
That
I
way.
actually got along really well with Max.
Hey, I don't. Well, so did I.
So did everybody. So did everybody. No, Max. I was very
How
excited
dare
to
you,
hire
sir.
Max.
Yeah.
because I was an insane Springsteen.
Oh, you
Yeah.
love Springsteen. And
Yes.
you
And so when Max came to the show to interview, I was totally starstruck.
Right.
Like I saw you at Cornell
Yeah.
in 1977. It changed my life.
he has an incredible memory for every
Oh yeah,
gig
Barton
they ever
Hall.
did.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Wow.
stunning.
Max ended up being great on the show.
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah,
found his
Yeah.
role. You know, when he really found his role to me was after Andy left. Like, and then
Right.
because first it was very painful how awkward it was for Conan to talk to Max.
Right.
And then you guys ended up making a meal out of it.
Right.
Conan would improvise off of it, but then you guys would write bits around it.
to
and-
amplify. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
dwell in the awkward.
Yeah, and
back
it became a strain, you know.
Yeah.
Up to that point, he was just a perv, like
Right.
Joel.
Yeah. yeah. It was very
Basically, the
one-note.
comic personas were
Right,
that they
right,
were
right.
different strains of pervert.
Right. Subtle shades of perversion.
Yeah, well, you know, if someone's a blank slate, what are you going to do?
Go the perv route
You go the perv route.
every time.
A lot of times back then, I was obsessed with like being the anti-Letterman show. So Letterman used to do remotes on the street, and he'd just talk to people on the. Oh no, he did a thing where he would talk to people on the street, but he'd be in the studio. Do you remember that?
Right, yes.
Like they'd have a live camera on the street and he would just talk to people.
Yes.
Hello, sir. What's your name?
Right.
And yeah. So I wanted to do a bit where we did the same setup where there was a camera on the street, but we would key screen Conan in front of the image and pretend like we're too lazy to actually send him down there.
Go outside, right.
We would pretend that he was interacting with them, and they couldn't see what was happening, but our audience could.
Right.
And Conan would do things like beat them on the head.
With a baseball
Oh,
bat.
A baseball
funny.
bat,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I remember that bit. They
It did
a
very
few
well a
times.
couple of times, and then
Yes.
I think we just ran out of we just stopped exploring it. But I thought it could have gone to different places. That would be an interesting one to look at. That was another thing that like we really wanted to bring visual, silly sight gag humor to the show.
Right.
That was something. Conan and I always connected on that at SNL. Just silly visual stuff, and I ended up doing cartoons on SNL later. So
He would
I
always
love
say
that
that
shit.
with new writers, like I think visual.
Funny
think
with the
visual,
sound.
think
Oh
visual.
yeah.
and sound.
Funny with the
too.
sound off was his slogan with that one. Yeah, the scariest night was the night Letterman came. It was the greatest thing. It may have saved the show.
At what point did that happen?
Yeah, was that in 94?
This is in February of '94.
Okay.
And Letterman obviously was making a huge splash on CBS at the time. He was destroying Leno.
Right.
In the early stages.
Right.
This was before Uma Oprah and the Oscars
and
all
Hugh
that.
Grant.
And Hugh Grant. Well, what were you thinking? And you can say in Jay's defense that he had a right to be upset, I think. With the way it went down in the first place. Like he did have the #1 show.
Right.
And why so you could see the argument like, why is this even a conversation?
Right. Why don't you tell the story as Jay?
So Dave decides he's going to showboat, because, I took over the Tonight Show. Dave's doing great on CBS. And then he goes back to NBC. And what? He's got to go on Conan. No, can't possibly. I know I put a poster outside his office with my face on it, but, what? I got an ugly face. Dave invented faces all of a sudden? So anyway, Dave goes on Conan and makes the big I'm exhausted. So what happened was, he was making a statement by coming on Conan.
Yes.
It was a big deal. It was basically because he was so bitter about the breakup at NBC, but he was basically giving Conan his stamp of approval. And he came to the show, and I got to meet him and talk to. Well, actually, the first time I got to meet him was the strangest way anyone could have ever met him. Which I'm sorry to digress.
In the bathroom.
Again.
Oh.
No, please.
Here comes the digression. So the summer Conan and I were starting the show, and of '93. Dave's last show, I believe, was I think in August or something. I think there was like a month of Dave being off the air in like early August. And I said to Conan, maybe you should go down there and, do the whole pay your respects thing, He said, yeah, no, that's a good idea. I said, yeah, I'll go with you. I'll go too. Yeah. It wasn't like an ulterior motive, but I, like once he's going, I was like, I'd like to meet the guy.
Yeah.
So then he signs off on NBC after whatever, 12 years or 11 years, walks out of the studio and sees Conan. Hey, come here. Go to the dressing room. Right after he's finished his show.
Oh, wow.
He brings Conan and me into his dressing room, and that's where I meet Dave. Can you imagine what a weird way to meet somebody?
Wow.
He's
charged.
just walked off for the last time.
That's
and
wild.
Couldn't have been nicer again.
Yeah.
But so here's 1994 February, and he's telling us like this is a state of the art comedy. He was so nice. He said the stuff you're doing is state of the art and it's incredible and you guys should be really proud. And it was a big deal because anytime a show is doing badly, a lot of times the writers get attacked. Like my first year at Saturday Night Live was 1985, 86. And it was the year where Lorne Michaels came back and Terry Sweeney and Robert Downey Jr., Michael Hall, Randy Quaid, all funny people, but not necessarily sketch performers.
Right.
and the show was a disaster, a critical disaster, reviled the entire season, and a lot of the worst criticism went toward the writing. But Lorne Michaels knew that we had an amazing staff.
Right.
We had Jack Handy and Jim Downey and Al Franken and George Meyer. And at the end of the day, he ended up replacing many more cast members than writers. And what was happening at the Conan show was everybody was under attack. Conan, obviously, but the writing, we were really, really proud of the stuff we were churning out.
Yeah.
And we were still getting shit on by critics. And Letterman went on the air and said to Conan, the quality and volume of the material that your show is generating is unmatched and incredible, and it made a huge difference for, I think, the way the show was perceived, and I think the network got off our backs in a big way too, because I remember an executive saying, like a month later, we're doing the best comedy on late night television.
A month later.
Yeah, like a month later, he says, your show's doing the best comedy. We just have to get Conan comfortable.
We just didn't realize
it.
Yeah.
We just needed
He
one
literally
guy to
said
say
it's the best comedy material that anyone's generating on late night. And we just need to get Conan more comfortable and up to his best self. The reason this came up was because we were talking about editing.
Yes.
Right.
And so,
late delivery of a show.
So this was, Cecil B. DeBaer's big chance. Cecil B. DeBaer's decided, we got to load up this show with the funniest shit. Everything that's working's got to be in this show.
Right.
This is our Emmy show.
Skull Juice. Double down.
Basically every sketch except Skull Juice was in the show.
Right.
No, there was like a pre-tape with Conan being funny.
So you wanted to jam all this stuff in that show.
Jammed so much stuff into the show, which we did. But then the show was like 15 minutes long. And it was, I think, the first time we ever had to cut out an actual talk segment. Oh, and Louis had written an amazing character called the Sad Kid.
Sad Kid was funny.
Unbelievably funny. And it had killed once, so we brought that back. And the show was way long, and we had never had to edit like that before. And literally it did come down to the wire. It was horrifying. I was like, I'm going to ruin our by overthinking this. I'm so close to breaking the show.
And Chuck DeJean.
Oh, Chuck DeJean, the editor. Was he? I don't know if he was the nighttime. He would edit remotes. This might have been a Mark Jankeloff affair.
Yes.